They say bad game weeks come in threes. Oh, and I've moved to Cardiff.
Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast.
Hello and welcome on board flight episode 27 of Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast. This is your captain and host speaking, Geoff Willis, and each week I'll be taking flight to talk fantasy Premier League football. You can find the show on a whole host of podcast services. Just search Captain's Pick, and it'd be great if you could leave a review on whatever you listen to the podcast on. It really does make a difference. On today's show, I'll give a quick review of Game Week 26, talk transfers and chip strategy, and my captain's pick, and I'll finish off with a quick preview of Game Week 27. But first, as ever, a quick shout out to the half-season Community League, which started scoring back in Game Week 20 and was set up to raise money and awareness for Cancer Research UK. A quick shout out to the top 10, which is only covered by about 26 points from 10th place to first place. And shout out to Anthony Crawford, who's in first place at the moment, who got a game week score of 78 for game week 26 and is in the top spot. So well done to Anthony Crawford. And I'll be closing the league at the end of February. So if you do want to join, the league code is in the description of this podcast and is also in the Twitter account for this podcast at Captain's Pick Pod. And okay, so let's just go back quickly to game week 26. And again, was a bit of a horror show for me. 54 points, the average being 57. Really only Robertson getting me 9 points from my back line, Pogba getting 16 points, and my captain Salah getting me 16 points. And that was it. Rashford was benched, so was Sane. Ings injured, so I actually only had 10 men starting, so it was pretty bad game week, pretty shocking, and that was three red arrows in a row, and my overall rank has just been destroyed, and I've dropped to 327,000, which is one of my worst ranks I think I've had so far this season. Obviously the aim is top 100k, a lot of work to do now to get into that. Still the plan, still the hope to get into that 100k, but it's going to have to be quite a bit of work to get into that now. And so not a great game week, but not too bad to have had a little break away from FPL after those 3 shocking game weeks. And hopefully game week 27 can go a lot better. Having said that, my team is in a right mess. And I'm not entirely sure what to do, to be honest. I've currently got 3 red flagged players. And also, I have 4 players who are blanking in this game week 27, which the deadline is tonight. So apologies for getting this podcast out only a few hours before the deadline, but I just wanted to get something out for you guys this week. The deadline's at 6:45 tonight. It's Friday night. I'll remind you again at the end of the podcast. So I currently have Fabianski in goal. Robertson, Wan-Bissaka, Doherty and Bednarak is my back line, where Wan-Bissaka just got a red flag today, so I think he'll miss the match. In midfield, I have Salah and Pogba, and up front, I have Kamara, who doesn't even play in this league at the moment, Ings, who's injured but is meant to be back this game week, and Rashford. And then on the bench, I have Sane, Richarlison and Digne, who all blank, and currently have Hazard in my starting 11, who also blanks. So I've got a bit of a nightmare this game week with the blanks. My team really was set up for hopefully getting that double Chelsea game week a few weeks ago. That obviously went to Man City. Aguero nailed it. And ever since then, I've just dropped like a stone in the overall rank. So not entirely sure what to do this game week. Lots of options, and of course, lots of chip strategy talk in the FPL community at the moment. Check out @Ben on Twitter for chip strategy breakdowns. Check out the Planet FPL podcast. They really go into depth into chip strategy. I'll be going into mine a little bit more in depth next week. But for the moment, I'm just trying to concentrate on getting through this game week, trying to get out at least 9-10 players if I can, maybe taking a hit. But it's anyone I bring in, I'm trying to look a little further afield to make sure that they are playing in the double game weeks in 32 and 34. I've got all my chips left, so I've got free hit, wild card, bench boost, and so all strategies are open for me and on the table, but just struggling this game week. Haven't got too much time to make a decision on this. My early thoughts on my transfers is bringing in Aubameyang for Kamara and reducing Hazard down to a puncheon. I know Aubameyang played midweek in the Europa League, so he may not be a guarantee to start, but I'm struggling for options, and I need to release money from Hazard, so puncheon would come in, which would leave me about 0.8 in the bank. So I could upgrade Ings to potentially a Rondon or a Barnes. I could potentially take out Richarlison for Maddison. Leicester have got good fixtures and Leicester don't have any blanks. But honestly, I just don't know. It's a very, very tough call. I only really want to take a -4. My Everton two players, Dean Richarlison, have got Cardiff away in their next game, which is pretty decent. Sane, who knows if he's going to play? No idea with him. He's been a right flop. So as you can see, I'm pretty confused. I'm not too much help to anyone right now, including myself. Just try and get out a starting 11 if you can. Don't take too many hits. Just bear in mind any players you are bringing in, just have half an eye on to see whether they blank in the next 4 or 5 game weeks, and just sort of follow a strategy from there. Be a little bit flexible and just see what you can do. Have a plan, but have some flexibility built into that. That's a rough idea of what I'm looking at transfer wise. If I bring in Aubameyang, I'll be captaining him as well. But I think this could be a fourth bad game week in a row for me. I think a few other people might be struggling as well, so not sure I'll gain any ground, but hopefully I won't lose too much. A quick preview of the fixtures going into this game week. Cardiff, Watford, West Ham, Fulham. I'll be having Fabianski in goal, so potentially clean sheet points coming there. Burnley, Spurs. A lot of people bring in Son. I'm not sure I can quite do that unless I don't bring in Aubameyang, so I'm not sure that's going to be an option. Doherty was flagged but is now declared fit, so hopefully he'll be able to play Bournemouth away. Going to need some points from him. And Arsenal at home to Southampton. I'll have 2 Southampton players, 1 defender, 1 striker. Hopefully Danny Ings plays some part. Who knows if Southampton can do anything in that match. Arsenal not great at the back, so there's a chance there. But hopefully, if I do bring Aubameyang in, he goes big against Southampton if he starts, which I couldn't be 100% sure on. Maybe Lacazette is the safer choice, which would give me a little bit more money in the bank. So that is an option. I just like Aubameyang as a better player. So that's a tricky one. And then Man United, Liverpool. I've obviously got my 2 Man United, 2 Liverpool players. You could go. I think there could be goals in that match, so could go Salah or Pogba captain. But as yet, I think I'll probably go Aubameyang captain. And just sorry to be not too much more helpful than that. It's a bit of a rush podcast this week. Just wanted to get something out to you guys. I'm actually travelling back to London tonight, so a little bit up against it this week. Loads of great podcasts out there, though, as I mentioned earlier. Planet FPL podcast, Who Got the Assist Guys podcast there, and the Always Cheating podcast. So plenty of great podcasts, and they really go into some great depth in terms of chip strategy and how to navigate this game week 27 where there are blanks. So just shout out to all those podcasts really, and give them a quick listen before the deadline. There's a little bit more information for you. I think that's where I'm going to land the show. Apologies for, again, no pod last week and a short pod this week. Moving to a different city has been a bit hectic for me. So finding a place to live and a new job, etc. So, but hopefully there'll be a longer pod next week and get back into that regular schedule. A reminder that the game week 27 deadline is tonight at 6:45. For more info on anything featured on the show, check out the podcast Twitter account at CaptainsPickPod. Feel free to send in any questions or topics you'd like discussed on the show. The podcast has an email account now, which is captainspickpod@gmail.com. Feel free to email me, again, any questions or topics you'd like discussed on the show. Thanks so much for listening to this in-flight podcast. I've been your captain. Good luck with game week 27. And until next time, it's been my pleasure to talk with you.
Captain's Pick, the FPL Podcast.